I'm James Brierton in Charlotte with a live update as severe weather continues to roll through the Carolinas. It is January 9th, 2024. It's 1 p.m. here, and we're going to just stand by just a moment. I know some of you have already joined us live on the Carolina Weather Net, where you've been watching for free real-time radar, sky cams, and real-time warnings from the National Weather Service. That's over on our YouTube channel. We appreciate you checking out that Carolina Weather Net. It will be up throughout the day so that you can continue to monitor severe storms wherever it is that you watch YouTube, from your smartphone to your smart TV. In just a moment here, we're going to join in with the rest of our Carolina Weather Group network, including Facebook pages like the Charleston Weather from Jared Smith. And we are going to be checking in with meteorologist Shay Gibson in Charleston as to what we can expect to see later on today. We're in a moment. We're also going to get to real-time warnings and what's happening right now at the 1 o'clock hour. And I'll get to that in just about 30 seconds or so as we make sure that all of our platforms have been able to join us for this live update. This is going to be our format throughout much of the day. We'll have those radar and real-time warnings from the National Weather Service streaming throughout the day, so long as our power stays on. And we'll be popping in with our hosts throughout the day. But we also have our friends storm chasing out there. We got Dan Whitaker in North Carolina. We got Chris Jackson in South Carolina. We'll be checking in with them as we go on throughout the course of the day. I do believe now all of our platforms are with us. And if you're with me here live at 1:02 p.m. on this Wednesday, you can go ahead and put into chat any questions you might have. We'll try to get to as many of those as possible. Do anticipate we'll be getting quite a few of them. So we'll try to answer as many as possible during this update here in the 1 o'clock Eastern hour. But hello again, I'm James Brierton from the Carolina Weather Group here in Charlotte, North Carolina. And as you've been seeing on our Carolina Weather Net, we do have a squall line. It's the first big round of storms that we're expecting with today's storms now moving through the Carolinas. This is quickly approaching the I-77 corridor, especially here in the Charlotte area where we do have a severe thunderstorm warning out for several counties, including northern Mecklenburg County, Gaston County, and Lincoln County, and portions of Chester and York County in South Carolina. And then kind of a little bit to the left, more to the south, as we continue to follow that squall line, it does extend on into other portions of South Carolina, kind of stretching now from Augusta, coming into the Columbia area over the course of the next few hours. And so as we take a look, you might be watching us right now from Newberry, and you can see right now in Newberry, South Carolina, the rain has really picked up. The squall line right on through here. This whole line is moving off to the east at a pretty good clip. And this storm has prompted the National Weather Service to take a couple different actions today. As we anticipate the chance of seeing severe storms. So first and foremost, because of the intensity of these storms, most of the Carolinas right now is in some sort of severe weather outlook from the National Weather Service, from the Storm Prediction Center. Let's go ahead and make that full screen so you can see it a little bit better here. So the enhanced risk, that's the orange, ENH, that is tier 3 out of 5 on their 5 tiers for their severe weather outlook. And you can see that is most of central and coastal South Carolinas, portions of central and coastal North Carolina, and then kind of emanating out like a dartboard or a bullseye. You can see the next ring, slight in yellow, is a tier 2 out of 5. That does extend a little bit further to the north and to the west, including here in Charlotte area, Raleigh, Greensboro. You're in on that as well too. And then we really taper off as we get closer to the mountains, because the mountains won't have so much a severe risk as they're going to have a flooding risk. We'll talk about that as well too. But let's talk about the types of severe weather we might be seeing today. Here is a look at how that breaks down with regards to tornadoes. So we have a 10% chance of seeing tornadoes, pretty much where that enhanced risk is set up. Again, that's portions of, let's say, Augusta, Columbia, closer into the Charlotte area, especially as you make your way down towards, say, Richmond County, Hamlet, Fayetteville, also in Wilmington and out towards the Outer Banks. Also now for Greenville, North Carolina, you're in this 10% hatched area, also including Myrtle Beach and Charleston, South Carolina, Hilton Head. So what does that hatch mean? That hatch means that not only do you have a 10% chance of seeing tornadoes, but they might be significant tornadoes of EF2 strength or greater. 5% chance of seeing tornadoes extends elsewhere across the Carolinas, where we had that slight risk, including here in Charlotte, the Triad and the Triangle. The good news is we won't see much in terms of hail today, so I'm going to go ahead and skip that graphic, but I do need to talk about the winds. 30% chance of seeing the winds winds. And this is really going to be probably the most significant takeaway today is the severe winds, because whether they're associated with a thunderstorm, whether they're associated with a tornado, or whether or not they're just associated with the system in general, that is also a possibility of these strong, damaging wind gusts outside of a thunderstorm occurring. A 30% chance of seeing some of these wind gusts that could be reaching tropical storm-like strength. This is essentially like having a tropical storm. I say like because I'm just trying to equate the impacts for you. So it's not a tropical storm by definition of tropical, but it is a tropical storm like system in terms of its amount of rain it's bringing, the amount of wind it's bringing, and the impacts that we're going to have across the Carolinas. So that is why we do have up right now for such a large area of the Carolinas a tornado watch that does extend through much of South Carolina and through portions of North Carolina, including, that does not want to load, including here in the Charlotte area. So if we look at it on radar scope, you can actually see the tornado watch itself. We just show you watches. I'm going to turn off a lot of other stuff that's going on here, right? So the watch box is essentially from I-85 in South Carolina, Greenville, Spartanburg. You've already had this round of storms come on through, and to the east and to the south. It does extend all the way to coastal South Carolina. So we have a tornado watch right now for Columbia, for Aiken, for Rock Hill, and into the Charlotte, North Carolina area. So these counties are included in that tornado watch. We do expect all of this land off through to the east to be added to the tornado watch as we go on throughout the rest of the afternoon. A tornado watch means that conditions are favorable. Conditions are likely to promote and generate tornadoes as we go on through the course of the next few hours. The difference between a watch and a warning is something that is happening right now. So let's talk about what is happening right now so you guys can have an idea of what it is you may need to be doing. I'm going to turn off some of these storm tracks because they're just a little overwhelming right now. And I'm going to go ahead and temporarily turn off the watch box and the mesoscale discussions because I just want to show you. I'm actually going to switch to a different radar. I just want to clear the screen and kind of show you here what is happening. And you can just see right now, in terms of yellow boxes or severe thunderstorm warnings, that means that the thunderstorms are producing 60-mile-per-hour winds or greater. And the green is flash flood warnings. So that means flooding rapidly occurring in an area where things don't normally flood. If the end of your street always floods every time it drizzles, that's not a flash flood. That's just poor drainage. Flash flooding is creeks and streams are rising to a rate where they might be threatening property, homes, or other infrastructure. And you can see that most of Western North Carolina and most of upstate South Carolina are in a flash flood warning following those heavy rains that came on through, because these storms are dumping and going to be dumping 3 or 4 inches of rain by the time they are done. So let's go ahead and do a little bit of a tour right now, starting with our severe thunderstorm warning. Starting here in the Charlotte area where I am, the northern edge of this warning, the northern edge of this squall line right now is just south of I-40, just south of Statesville into Iredell County, and does extend southward. It's going to be in uptown Charlotte momentarily. We'll show you live pictures of that in just a moment. It has just exited Gastonia. Here is Interstate 85. Here is Interstate I-77. So this is moving off to the east. And if we switch from looking at heavy rain to heavy wind, looking at the velocity data on that radar, you can see that the radar is picking up 60, 70, 80 mile per hour wind observations. The Greenville Spartanburg radar, which is what I have on your screen right now, is surfacing 5,000, 6,000 feet up in the air. But we do have the benefit in Charlotte of having a terminal Doppler radar at the airport, which means that we are actually able to sample the atmosphere much lower. So right now, in places like Mount Holly over the Catawba River, 50-mile-per-hour winds are being observed very low to the ground. Matter of fact, those winds are being observed right now at just about 100, 200, 300 feet above the ground, which is about as on the ground as we can get with radar. And you can often see right now through Lake Wiley, South Carolina, that's closer to 50, 60 mile per hour. We do have right now coming into Tega Cay, 60 mile per hour winds Again, a severe thunderstorm warning does mean 60-mile-per-hour winds or greater are occurring or very likely to occur in the next few minutes. And whether the wind is rotating in a column or is coming at you in a straight line like it is with these storms, that is enough to produce damage, bring down trees, bring down power lines. We're already seeing across western North Carolina, upstate South Carolina, lots of power outages associated with these strong winds. And we can continue to see those power outages across the entire Carolina basin as we go on through the next course of the hours, because whether they come down during these storms or they come down during the prolonged severe winds that we'll be seeing for the next 12 hours, because of those saturated grounds, 3 or 4 inches of rain, those prolonged winds, a lot of those trees could fall over. So we're going to get down through the I-77 corridor of South Carolina here in just a moment to show you what those radar returns are looking like right now. But our friends at WeatherStem do have cameras that they allow us to use and show you what's happening on the ground. And they do have a lovely camera at Bank of America Stadium in Uptown Charlotte. So not to speak football, because I know better than that. We can talk about the weather at Bank of America Stadium right now. And you can see right now in Uptown Charlotte, the rain is coming down. It's very cloudy, very foggy. It's not a great day for traveling at all. And those conditions are going to deteriorate here very quickly because that squall line I was showing you is just off to the left side of the camera. This camera from Bank of America Stadium, if you've been there, is looking from the end zone towards Uptown Charlotte. So we're essentially kind of looking to the north and to the east, and that squall line right now is coming in from the west. We do have the benefit here with the WeatherStem cameras of actually looking at a second camera that they have from that same location, from atop the scoreboard, really, is what this is. And it faces back off to the west, and it looks towards their practice bubble there in the Uptown area. And you can see here, this is where the storms are going to be coming from. They're coming from the Catawba River. They're coming from Gaston County. They're coming from the airport and going to be marching into Uptown in the next few minutes. So we'll keep a close eye on these cameras. Thanks to our friends at WeatherStem for sharing these cameras with us as this line of storms does kind of now move into the Charlotte area. As you are watching with us right now, you're probably wondering what might be happening in portions of South Carolina, and I do want to show that to you here. We'll check in with some cameras we have in that network as well too. We're going to go ahead and switch on over to the Columbia-based radar, and we're going to go ahead first and switch back over to rain because that's what most of you are probably used to seeing. So right now, starting actually from the west, you can see the heaviest of rain right now is in Augusta. That's in Georgia, but we're so close to South Carolina, and I know so many of you move back and forth between those two areas. We're going to start right there, and you can see we have heavy rain right now in Augusta coming into Aiken in the next few minutes. We'll check in with that ETV Aiken WeatherStem camera here. We have heavy rain right now in Edgefield, Saluda, and Newberry. And, of course, these yellow boxes still mean that we have severe thunderstorm warning. So what should you do during a severe thunderstorm warning is a question I've seen come up in our chat here, and you really just want to make sure you're inside a sturdy structure. That means you want to be inside, away from windows and doors. You don't want to be out on the road. The severe thunderstorm is capable of blowing down trees, bringing down power lines, which would make traveling very hazardous. Again, during the summertime, we see severe thunderstorm warnings fairly often. And I think as a result of that, sometimes people forget about the intensity of these storms. It's not August, it's January. This is a very strong storm for any time of the year we're seeing right now. And so if you do get a severe thunderstorm warning, you are going to want to stay inside. If you get a tornado warning, you are going to want to make sure that you're in the lowest level away from windows and doors. If you have a basement, that's beautiful, but I know so many of you don't have basements. I don't have a basement. So in the event that I were to get, say, a tornado warning here where I am at some point today, I'm going to go under the stairs with my family. We don't have a basement, but that is the lowest level on our home. It is the most interior room away from windows and doors. And so the National Weather Service is closely monitoring the possibility that some of these storms could produce tornadoes as we go on through portions of the afternoon hours. Let's continue our tour here on radar and bring you back in now. This is going to be getting closer to that I-77 corridor, kind of between maybe 385 and 26. And you can see we have a little bit of radar blockage here. But if we switch back over to our Greenville-Spartanburg radar, you can kind of get a good idea of the intensity kind of stretching all along the squall line now from Charlotte down towards the Newberry area, and it's going to be coming into Columbia. Columbia is right on in here where we have William Bryce Stadium's camera marked, and you can see the I-77 corridor is right on in here. So again, over the course of the next few minutes, these are the type of winds that you can expect to see coming in based on radar returns. Chester County right now, Chester County, South Carolina, you have some wicked radar returns, 55 miles per hour being picked up here on radar. And some of these returns, based on the Greenville Spartanburg radar, now I've slid back up to Charlotte, are approaching 60, 70 miles an hour as that squall line comes right on into Charlotte. We're going to get back to that Bank of America camera in just a moment, but I want to make sure my South Carolina friends, you get a chance here to look at some of these radar returns before I go back to Charlotte. You can see in Saluda right now, 60, 70 mile per hour winds. Again, it's sampling up the atmosphere. So not all of these winds, not all these strong winds gusts are making it down to the surface at 60 or 70 miles an hour. The radar is scanning the upper atmosphere, but it is a really good indication of the strength of the storm. And when I talk about tornadoes, like I was talking about a few minutes ago, we look for kinks in the line, right? So you see how this kind of bends like this? And what that allows it to do is kind of spin up in some of these little, they're called kinks, where the line bends and can kind of get rotating on you. So right now I'm watching here in the Johnston area, Trenton, coming out of Edgefield, coming out of Ridge Spring, there is a kink in the line. And so that might allow the storm to get a little rotation going as it continues to move off to the east. So those are the type of things we will be watching. We have not had up now until this point any tornado warnings, but I am seeing a message in National Weather Service chat from a local meteorologist, our friend Brad Panovich, saying that he's getting reports of damage now in the Claremont area of Catawba near I-40 up in what is considered the Charlotte TV market, but that would be back up here. From probably this line that came on through a short time ago. We'll get back to that in just a moment, but I don't want to miss the squall line right now coming through the Charlotte area. So let's get back on over to that WeatherStem camera. Thanks to our friends at WeatherStem for allowing us to show you these cameras. You can find them at weatherstem.com. And you can kind of see here as I return from radar to that camera now, the conditions deteriorating over portions of uptown Charlotte. This is from atop the scoreboard at Bank of America Stadium. And we're looking back off to the west where that squall line is approaching from. We also now have a flash flood warning for Charlotte and Mecklenburg County as the heavy rains associated with this storm are beginning to push on through the region. We'll check in with the rain gauges in just a few minutes. But we are going to watch here both on radar and on our camera from WeatherStem as this storm moves on through, what we might be able to see, because seeing is believing with so much of these storms that in the next few minutes, I wouldn't be surprised if this camera really starts battling some of those stronger winds. Typically, that means the camera might bounce around a little bit as we begin to see that squall line right now moving over Charlotte Douglas International Airport, where the terminal Doppler radar is coming in with readings of about 50 miles an hour or so. We are getting reports, multiple trees down. This is back in that Catawba Claremont area. Multiple TV stations are now telling the Weather Service that viewers, storm chasers, and emergency officials are informing them of damage reported now in Catawba County in that Claremont area from severe winds, possible tornado as the storm continues to move on through. And you can see the rain rate picking up now on this live camera associated with those heavy rains that are moving through the region. Mecklenburg County, where I'm based, does have a FINS system that allows us to check the state of creeks and streams. And that's probably what the Weather Service is looking at as well, too, when they're trying to decide whether or not to issue a flash flood warning, as they have done now for the Charlotte area. And I will show you some of those gauges here in just a minute, but essentially all of the gauges across the entire region right now are obviously on the rise as heavy rains come on through. As we continue to look at this camera, I want to take a look at some of your questions and some of your comments getting through. Right now, Victoria, watching on Facebook with us, says winds already getting bad there in Lexington, South Carolina or North Carolina? Victoria, I presume South Carolina, as we continue to watch this come on through. What about West Ashley, South Carolina? We'll get you an update on Charleston, that Charleston area coming your way here in a little bit. We're expecting Shay Gibson to hop on. We will have these storms coming into the greater Charleston area in the hours ahead. So right now, we're going to continue to watch where the storm is occurring right now. I love the weather, but I'm under a flash flood warning, and that is definitely something. You want to run from water and hide from wind. So if you're in a severe thunderstorm warning, you want to hunker down in a place that is safe to do so. But if you do find yourself in a flash flood warning, you want to make sure that you get to higher grounds. Okay, we are now looking at that squall line that is coming through uptown Charlotte. Storms in uptown right here at Bank of America Stadium, thanks to our friends at WeatherStem. We appreciate them sharing this camera with us so we can kind of show you. If you haven't seen the storms come on through yet, this is what you can expect to see when the line gets to you. Just minutes ago, we were able to see the practice bubble. We were able to see off into the distance, and now we are completely just in what I will call whiteout conditions. Similar to maybe like a blizzard, right? When you're in a blizzard and the winds pick up and snow's blowing around, that's a blizzard, whiteout conditions. This is not a blizzard. This is obviously rain. We're not talking about winter weather here in the Carolinas today, but the same effect between the clouds and the rain and the blowing of the wind. We have lost most of our visibility here from Bank of America Stadium back off to the west. I'm going to stop this camera for just a moment because I want to switch the camera now back to the skyline buildings so that we can kind of see off in the distance again what that looks like now as the line continues to move off to the east. And you will remember just minutes ago, we were able to see those buildings in uptown. I swear to you, this is that same camera. You can just barely make out the rim of the stadium and the scoreboard off in the distance, but you can no longer see the buildings of uptown Charlotte, which are not that far away. We are talking visibility now at zero in uptown Charlotte. We can't even see the skyline buildings that are a block, 2 blocks, 3 blocks away from Bank of America Stadium. This is what that squall line does as it moves through the Carolinas. And so this is what is being experienced right now by so many of you, not only in Charlotte, but all along that squall line from the I-77 corridor in Mecklenburg County in North Carolina through South Carolina, where the severe thunderstorm warning has now just been extended into the Columbia, South Carolina metro area because conditions like these are expected over the course of the next few minutes. You can see again that Bank of America scoreboard just above my head. And to give you an idea, we are looking from one scoreboard to the other scoreboard. We didn't even have enough visibility to look across an entire football field. That is how strong these storms are today in the Carolinas. And to drive this point home even further, that's why in the event of a tornado warning, if a tornado warning were to be issued for your location, don't try to go outside. Don't try to go to the window to see it. You are not going to be able to see it. You just need to get inside safely and do so. Right now, no tornado warnings in the Carolinas. It's 1:22 p.m. on this Wednesday, and we are looking at deteriorating weather conditions from severe thunderstorms that are producing very gusty winds. While I leave these pictures on the screen, I'm going to go back over on my other monitor here to our terminal Doppler radar and tell you what some of the winds are like right now in uptown Charlotte. And we are seeing 40 miles an hour being picked up right now on terminal Doppler radar. Matter of fact, these WeatherStem systems don't just show us via camera. They also are fully fledged weather systems. So right now, 60 degrees there at Bank of America Stadium. Sustained winds at 32 miles an hour. 32 miles an hour, gusting up to 62 miles an hour. That is the observation being recorded by the weather system associated with this camera at Bank of America Stadium right now in uptown with a rain rate of 5 inches of rain an hour. That's not to say we're going to get 5 inches of rain because it's not going to be this heavy for an hour. But if it were to rain like this for an hour, we'd end up with 5 inches of rain. Right now, this weather observation system coming in at 1 inch of rain in the last 24 hours and counting. And it'll be interesting to see what that looks like here in the next few minutes. But in the last 10 minutes, the highest wind gust 62 miles an hour in uptown Charlotte right now as the pressure begins to fall associated with the squall line coming on through. Thanks again to our friends at WeatherStem for showing us these vantage points. You can see now as the line begins to push a little bit further off to the east and begins to make its way out of Charlotte, the visibility is coming back a little bit more. You can see it was kind of quick hitting, but it was enough to dump quite a large amount of rain and bring gusty winds to the Charlotte area. We'll check back in with Charlotte here in just a few minutes, but I know not all of you are watching from Charlotte, and I want to update now you on where storms are, and we'll go back on over to show you right now my radar scope, which is still kind of penned in on the uptown area here in Charlotte. And I'm going to go ahead and zoom on out to show you other areas right now where we are continuing to watch storms. And I'm going to do that by first starting with our Greenville Spartanburg radar and showing you right now, here is where we are just watching. This is moving off to the east, and the line right now coming into Rock Hill. We'll show you that camera here in just a moment, moving off to the east. Newberry, you're just about done with this. This is the first line. You're just about done with it. You'll have some calming back behind it. But we are going to be watching for more storms as we go on throughout the course of the day. You can kind of see there's another line, right? There's another line right now over portions of Georgia. It's not as strong, not as severe, doesn't have any warnings on it right now, but hey, it's raining in Macon, and that's more rain that's going to be coming our way a little bit later. Pushing back on in right now in Augusta, in Aiken, you can see these storms right now at their peak in Augusta, Georgia, and coming into Aiken here in the next few minutes. Tim Pounds looking at you. This is going to make its way along I-20. And we now do have a severe thunderstorm warning that extends just about into the Columbia metro area, hazard being 70-mile-per-hour winds or greater, as this storm continues to move off to the east at a pretty considerable rate here. This storm has been moving very quickly, about 50 miles an hour or so. All right, let's get you on over to that Rock Hill camera, because that's going to be the next area where we're going to be seeing storms rolling on through. And I want to make sure that you're able to see that when it happens as well, too. Take your storm reports as you're watching with us. If you're watching, you can put those in the chat. And Rock Hill is where we're heading. So the Carolina Weather Group throughout the day will have live streaming radar on our Carolina Weather Net. Streams are free on YouTube, any place you watch YouTube, on your smartphone to your smart TV. It'll have real-time warnings, a lot of these same cameras. And you'll be able to check in with that throughout the day to stay abreast of what is occurring. All right, I don't have rain picking up just yet on the Rock Hill camera. So I do want to show you, I think, the Augusta camera. What does that look like? Excuse me, the Augusta camera. I'll briefly show it to you. It looks like heavy rain. 1000% what it looks like. So here's our Augusta camera from WeatherStem. And so again, you can kind of see heavy rain, cameras bouncing around a little bit again, trees blowing there in the distance. And I see some ladders out on a truck. It really reminds me that if you haven't done so already and you're out ahead of this line, you are going to want to secure any loose items before the storm gets to you. If the storm's already to you, then that ship has sailed, and you'll want to check in with them after the storm. But I know last night I went through my backyard and took in a lot of the chairs and things. Luckily, it's not summertime, and so wasn't that much stuff to have to bring in. Checking in with our camera network right now. Going to get you another live view of this squall line as it marches on through the Carolinas, so you can get a real idea of what's happening outside, on the ground, in reality, and not just on a radar screen. While I wait for a good camera to pop on up, let's go ahead and get radar back on the screen for you, because that's more interesting than my face. I agree. And so we'll do that. And you'll be able to watch along with us here. And I'll also check the chat. It's raining in Pageland, South Carolina. Windy in Carolina Beach, North Carolina. And that's a good observation, Jeff, because Jeff is not yet experiencing any of these storms. He's out ahead of that line. But as we've seen, this is going to be like a 24-hour wind event. And that's why so many of us either have a wind advisory or high wind watch or even a high wind warning in portions of the coast because of how strong this storm is going to be. Polly asking what's going on in Kannapolis. This line will be to you imminently there in Kannapolis, Polly, as the storm has now cleared Charlotte and the I-77 corridor, and you're kind of next in line. Diane asking about the the triangle, Chapel Hill and the Durham area. It'll be to you in the next few hours. The storm is moving off to the east at 50 miles an hour or so. And I do expect that the capital region will have either a severe thunderstorm watch or a severe thunderstorm watch or a tornado watch as we get onto later in the day. Again, watch meaning that conditions would be likely for that severe weather to be occurring. Right now, that watch is not up yet, but we do expect it to come soon. Excuse me. We are getting a report now, again, out of that Claremont area in Catawba County. This is to the north and west of Charlotte in the foothills of western North Carolina. Structure collapse, people trapped in homes, fire department on scene. Fire department trying to get on scene, battling their way through fallen trees. The incident occurred at about 12:30, just about an hour ago. And this is a situation that's being closely monitored there in the Claremont area of Catawba County. I'm going to check, see if we have any pictures. We might be able to show you of these damage reports that we're getting out of the Claremont area, because it does sound like something occurred in Claremont. Brad Panovich, chief meteorologist, WCNC Charlotte, colleague at my day job and friend of our show, has tweeted out some pictures that he has received from the Claremont area. And you can see in those pictures, lots of trees down. These on top of a car. You can see they broke the back window. That's why we tell you not to take shelter in your car. If you can get to a sturdy structure, that's better. This is some sort of, I think is that a billboard? That might be a billboard blown over here at the side of the highway. Trees down along what I believe to be I-40 in Catawba County. And Brad is circling on radar there. This is the terminal radar perspective. You can see on the right-hand side of your screen, that's the velocity. And you can kind of see just south of the word Claremont, where that bright flash of green and that bright flash of yellow come together. That is a possible tornado signature that was observed in Catawba County at about 12:30 when this squall line came on through. We did not have a tornado warning associated with that storm at that time. Doesn't mean a tornado didn't occur. Tornadoes are going to be really tricky for the National Weather Service to spot in this storm system. They could spin up very quickly and be gone very quickly, but still leave potential damage on the ground. We did just get an update from the Weather Service. They're continuing the severe thunderstorm warning right now for Mecklenburg and Union counties. They're essentially going to push that severe thunderstorm warning now further to the east. So they have added, well, actually, really, this not only is the National Weather Service added Union County here to this, but now this severe thunderstorm warning does expand into the Triad, Wake Forest University. You're inside the severe thunderstorm warning. Winston-Salem, you're inside the severe thunderstorm warning. As the squall line now leaves the I-77 corridor and comes into the triangle, Greensboro, you will be next. We do have, these are all WeatherStem cameras that I can show you here in the next few minutes. And so let me quickly look to see what some of these cameras are showing. And so here's a look right now. This is WeatherStem in Rock Hill, South Carolina, which is under a severe thunderstorm warning. Pretty much all these areas I'm going to show you right now are under a severe thunderstorm warning because of the damaging wind threat coming through with these storms. And so I'm going to try to show you as many of these as I can so that you can understand what some of the impacts really feel like. They really look like. Because I know many of us, whether we're weenies, can stare at radar all day long. But really, it's about understanding what the impact of these weather systems is really all about. I take you now, via WeatherStem, to Wake Forest. This is Wake Forest University. Courtesy of Weather Stem. Heavy rains coming on through. It'll be in Wake Forest, the town, later. And so you can see live picture here. It'll be out towards Hilton Head later on today, too. And we've got lots of these severe warning polygons, all thunderstorm, luckily, not in the form of tornadoes at this time, luckily. Let's see. What does this other camera look like? Just looking at some other cameras here that I might be able to show you. Wake Forest, all the cameras right now are obviously covered in rain and quite wet and dark and gloomy. That's not a great day to be outside at all. And let me go to this camera. This is going to be, that camera is Myrtle Beach. But let me take you back now to North Carolina. This is Winston-Salem State University. And you can see, look at that flag in the center of your screen. You can really get a sense of the winds there. As the storms now move into the Triad region of North Carolina. And again, the wind's not exclusive to any one region. Johnny on Facebook saying wind is now going pretty good in Rock Hill. Rain is blowing onto roofs so hard it looks like a cloud of mist. Rain really picking up there south of Charlotte and Rock Hill, South Carolina. Thanks for watching with us on Facebook, Johnny. Oh, check out this comment from YouTube. Person's watching us on YouTube, 30 minutes south of Raleigh. Not sure how bad it's going to be there, but they got 2 chainsaws ready to go in case of downed trees. It never hurts to be prepared. Never hurts to be prepared. Hopefully you don't have to use those chainsaws. And I'll tell you, I got myself and my family prepared yesterday. I got my generator out. I charged all the batteries, made sure we had all of our first aid kits, things like that ready to go. I'm actually frankly surprised. I don't want to curse this or jinx this. I'm kind of surprised I haven't taken a power hit yet. The line of storms is actually kind of moving over us right here, right now. And I can kind of show this to you, I think. Because we have a camera on our roof. I am in Charlotte, but I'm really close to Matthews, North Carolina, for anyone who's familiar. And we do have a camera on our roof here. And so I can kind of go ahead and pop this up on the screen for you. I'm waiting to see if those pine trees across the street are going to start dancing. Wouldn't be surprised. I'm getting word now from the National Weather Service that they're in the process of expanding the tornado watch to include the Raleigh area. It'll be out shortly, and we'll stay with you here in the air as long as we can to let you know when that's going to be. Several of you watching right now, probably my neighbors here in Charlotte. And I know right now we're kind of going through the thick of that line, the bulk of that line coming on through. And the heaviest rain right now over Pineville, Fort Mill, Rock Hill. It'll be actually over here to Matthews, where I am, in the next few minutes. Flooding shutting down Wilkinson and Sam Wilson Road in Charlotte near the airport, where we do have not only a severe thunderstorm warning, but also a flash flood warning. Let me show you right now. I want to show you what Rock Hill, South Carolina looks like. This from a DOT camera. I'm going to go ahead and pop that up on the screen for you. Make the picture a little bit bigger because I want to show you. Yeah, the picture's blurring a little bit, or smearing for lack of a better word. But look at all this ponding water off the side of the road, on the shoulder. I know it's very hard to see right now. But that is the result of the heavy rains. This is US 21 at Catawba River. Not too far from the peach stand, if I recall correctly. All right, let me try a different camera because this one's a hot mess right now. Whoa. That's not Rock Hill. It's a lovely looking bridge. Definitely not Rock Hill. Okay, again, here's Rock Hill, I-77 now. Kind of as you come into the city center. I think the Catawba River is beyond that curve, out of view. You can see how wet the roadways are. And we're just going to do a quick little tour here. See what we can spot along I-77, thanks to the South Carolina Department of Transportation. Again, look at those pine trees off to the right-hand side of your screen. They're just sitting in water. And that's not great for trees because that will really weaken them a bit. And as we continue to get these strong wind gusts, could be a reason that we see down trees as we go on through the rest of the afternoon. You can see the poor travel conditions. Lots of people on the road. Way more people on the road than I expected to see. And actually, look here at the lanes that are going away from us. You can actually see the rain kind of blowing. At least we could when the cars weren't there. So the wind is like carrying the rain. All right, so let's do this. It's been a minute since we checked in with a little further south into South Carolina. Whoa! And I want to show you what I can nearest Columbia. So between New Bern and Columbia right now is where the squall line is. This is I-26. I-26, and I don't think the squall line's made it here yet. I think this is still just out ahead. I think that squall line's going to be back closer to where you see the yellow out of Newberry. And so I would expect conditions to deteriorate in Columbia over the course of the next few minutes associated with these storms that are rolling on through. We do have don't have a Newberry camera. I thought I had a Newberry camera. All right. Keep an eye on that. We will keep an eye on that. Oh, this is a new camera. Weatherstime now has a camera in Thomasville, North Carolina. It's new to me. I don't know how long it's been there. It's new to me. I'm going to show that to you. Let's go to Thomasville, North Carolina. This is a little south of Greensboro. Just because I love how open this shot is. This is out ahead of the squall line, which has not yet made it there. And so remember this picture because we might come back to it later. You may not be able to see it. That's kind of what I'm thinking. Let me get your radar. It's been a minute since I showed you radar, and that's really what we're here to see, right? So let's go on over, take a look at that. See if we can spot anything funky on the radar. And I'm using single radar sources here in Radar Scope. So you'll notice right now I'm looking from the Raleigh radar, and you can't really see anything back over here in South Carolina. But if I switch back over to South Carolina radar, you can see more in South Carolina and less in North Carolina. So I don't want you to be confused. If you see nothing, that is why we're looking at one area at a time, which allows us to get better data, faster data in more real time. So that squall line right now coming through Winston-Salem, coming into Salisbury, China Grove, Kannapolis, exiting the Charlotte region. The line is kind of curved a little bit, right? So the north part of the line is out ahead of the southern part of the line. And that is especially true if I zoom way back on out. And we can essentially say the line right now goes from Augusta, just out of Newberry, through Rock Hill, through Charlotte, coming into High Point, but not yet in Greensboro. And the line's kind of like that. So it's a bit of an angle, a bit of a slant. And I want to switch this now to velocity. And this is going to be a little challenging. I'm going to look now from actually the Roanoke area. And you can actually see, check a look at this curve right on through there, just north of Winston-Salem, Wake Forest. Whole 100-mile-per-hour winds being observed by this radar. This is south of the state line. Now, I got to tell you, this radar is quite a distance away. And so that's like 4,000 feet up in the air, but 100 mile per hour is being detected 4,000 feet up in the air. One way or the other gets my attention. And if I were to cross compare that with the Raleigh radar, which is going to be 6,000 or 7,000 feet up in the air, what we are seeing is winds not as significant. but still seeing 60, 70, 80 miles per hour. I actually got distracted here because man, it's so hard to see in this neck of the woods because hashtag Carolina radar hole. This right here, where the reds and the greens are coming together near Wake Forest University. Kind of getting my attention. I'm a little hesitant. You see this purple ring? Anything over here is kind of getting deteriorated. The velocities, which is the radar signature for looking at wind, just does not really register that far. But I'm looking for any possible rotation. Certainly very strong winds right now. Long I-85 between Kannapolis and Spencer and Salisbury, 70 mile per hour winds. This is a very low radar signature. So, I mean, the wind's got it. Oh, there's my first power hit. First power hit here in Matthews. That is the sound of my backup power supply, which was enough to keep our stream going. It looks like. Okay, that was good. That was good. If I don't have, I have a generator here at my house, but not for the stream, for family essentials. But I do have a little backup battery here that if we take a power hit, will keep my computer system, my modem running, hopefully long enough to get us back connected. It'll last for like a minute. That's a little bit of what just happened. So we're looking again at possible rotation, watching for possible rotation. And really, I think right now this is kind of the most significant. Let me see what caused us to get a power hit here. I say I'm in Charlotte. I'm technically in Charlotte. I'm very close to Matthews. So I'm like down here, and here's Charlotte. Any number of things could have caused power to flash, lightning strike. Somebody could have hit a pole. And so it's very possible that our streams could go offline for a little bit here. They do come out of my home here in the greater Charlotte area, and that was another power hit. Another power hit here in southeastern Charlotte area. So I'm going to continue talking with you as long as I can. The National Weather Service has now expanded the tornado watch. Watch meaning that conditions are favorable for the development of tornadoes in the course of the coming hours. And this now includes Raleigh, Greensboro. So let me show this to you. Getting it on the screen for you right now. This is the addition to what we already had. And this goes until 9 o'clock tonight. Wilson, Goldsboro, Wilmington, Lumberton, Fayetteville, Burlington, all in North Carolina. I would expect that South Carolina, you'll get a version of this coming up. Don't worry. And we already have one in Charlotte, North Carolina, and so much of South Carolina. But we now have that tornado watch expanded. Expanded now. And that's all because the squall line is continuing to push off to the east. And will be in places like Myrtle Beach in the coming hours. And that's exactly what a watch means. A watch means that conditions are favorable for the development of severe weather in the hours ahead. And so we're also watching, you can see it here on radar, there are some discrete storms popping up right now in places like Myrtle Beach. And we'll have to watch those for possible rotation. Live here via WeatherStem right now. That's Raleigh for you. NC State, if I recall correctly. And we'll watch these. This is going to last several hours. Oops. Breaking my cup here. Didn't mean to do that. The Weather Service is telling us that the rotation we are looking at is kind of weakening. That was the rotation up towards Winston-Salem. It's weakening a bit, so they're no longer as concerned about that. Here's a live look in Augusta. That heavy rain of band, that first band has moved on out. And so that's good news for you. We're going to hang here just long enough to watch the camera on my roof, because I can hear the wind and the rain picking up. If you're one of my friends, there's a live look in Clemson. You can see the flags blowing there. If you're one of my friends watching from South Charlotte, even Union County, Indian Trail, I'm not that far from you. Take a look at this. Right now, this is live on the top of my roof here in southeastern Charlotte, Mecklenburg County. Let's call it Matthews. And you can see how much the wind and the rain is picking up right now as that squall line comes pretty much over my house. It's essentially my turn. It is essentially my turn. As some of you have already experienced, and some of you will be experiencing coming up here in the next little bit. You can see those trees kind of just dancing. You can see those trees dancing. And I do have a weather station on my roof that will tell me how strong the winds are here. And we can help really tell you what it is you are seeing. So many of you I know have weather stations. It's really helpful data. Appreciate everyone who sends in storm reports. All right, so right now where I am, I can hear the wind. I can hear the wind kind of blowing in the window. And I'm waiting for my weather station to update to kind of tell me what it is it thinks it's getting. And while we look at these live pictures, which are out my window, this live picture, again, from the greater Charlotte area here, you can see it on the box above me. Charlotte is at the top of that radar box, which for some reason it's not filling the screen. Whoop. There it is. Let's talk to you about power outages because I think I'm destined. Right now in North Carolina, 62,000 customers without power. Nearly 30,000 in South Carolina. And that number is expected to increase. Mud and Rockets is watching with us from College Downs. Was out in his truck, it sounds like, when he ran into massive winds. And yeah, it's a hard day to be out there on the roads for sure. Mud and Rockets echoing what I said. Yeah, yes, the UPS has only decided to give you a minute of safety to shut down your computer. Yes, I would certainly try to shut it down. Luckily, it was just enough to kind of bridge that power hit we took, or 1 or 2 hits we've taken so far. You'll hear it probably whistling a couple more times. Look at the winds right now on the left side of your screen here out my window. You can see those trees. Those are across the street from my house to give you kind of a depth perspective. Obviously, you can see that they are just falling victim to the wind right now. My weather station is registering gusts up to 10 miles an hour. I really was expecting it to be higher, so I'm waiting to see if that validates. I'm going to step away for about 30 seconds, maybe a minute, and grab my cell phone, which apparently I left downstairs. And I'll leave you with these pictures. And stay tuned. I'll be back momentarily. All right. Found my phone. Found those of you trying to reach me. Coming up on 2 o'clock, I think we're going to probably take a break here in the stream. I mean, our stream goes all the time with radar and warnings and all that jazz. I'm going to take a break, anticipating that we're going to have more storms later on today. And I need to try to make my voice last. But so in the next couple minutes, we will get you back on over to our Carolina Weather Net, which streams there at the top of your screen. You can see forecast data, real-time warnings, radars, and the like. As again, we are watching now severe weather continuing to move through the Carolinas. And it's going to be with us for the next several hours. And you can already see things are quickly quieting down here in Matthews on my live camera as some of those heaviest rains move on through. The line is pretty quick. The Weather Service is watching for possible rotation associated with the storm as we go on through most of the day. And so much of the Carolinas right now under a tornado watch, which means that conditions are favorable for the development of tornadoes as we head on through the rest of the course of the day. And so I'll show you here on radar right now a couple areas that do hop out to me right there between Ridge Spring and Red Bank in Columbia. Couple areas here along these lines we'll have to watch for rotation where things are just bending a little bit on the line. Right now we're looking at winds, but we don't have any tornado warnings right now. The Carolina Weather Group will try to check in with you with our hosts, myself and others, and our storm chasers throughout the day as often as we can. If we're not able to be here, then our Carolina Weather Net will have data for you so that you can take action to protect yourself and your property if needed. But again, we're beginning to see a couple areas now along that line that do look like they're trying to rotate a little bit. So we will keep an eye on that. And again, we'll have updates for you streaming. If you haven't already, here it comes. Please like and subscribe to us on YouTube. Subscribe, hit the bell. So this way, when we do go live, you're notified. Do have multiple ways to receive warnings, not just our Carolina Weather Net, but also, you guys couldn't see what I was circling, but also Weather Radio. Is a fantastic way to stay informed. So I was circling a couple things like this all along the line where it's beginning to look like we're getting along that thunderstorm line, possible areas of rotation. And that's what the Weather Service will be keeping a close eye on. I think we just got a tornado warning pretty close to the state line with Virginia. I think I just saw that pop up on my screen as I was talking. And Rockingham, North Carolina, Stokes, North Carolina now has a tornado warning, along with Henry, Virginia, Patrick, Virginia, Pennsylvania, Virginia, and the city of Martinsville, Virginia, associated with a thunderstorm moving northeast at 55 miles an hour. It's near Sandy Ridge, Martinsville, Stoneville, Danbury, Spencer, Axton, Sandy Ridge, and Bassinet. This is near Martinsville Speedway and Martinsville Airport. So this is right there at the state line. You can kind of see it right here now on your screen. This is very quickly exiting the Carolinas. I mean, it's only going to be in the Carolinas for about 4 or 5 miles as it heads towards Martinsville. So if you know anybody in Martinsville, in Virginia, give them a call. That is technically our first tornado warning in the region of the day. And we also have a couple more warnings now trying to get going closer to South Carolina, Allendale, and that portion of the I-95 corridor coming out of Georgia. So I'm going to take a quick break while we are waiting for warnings to get going here, tornado warnings to get going here in the Carolinas. We will take you back on over to our Carolina Weather Net streaming right now on YouTube to help us fill the break here. And we'll check back in with you guys throughout the day. If you do get a tornado warning, seek shelter in the lowest level of your home, most interior area of your home, away from any windows or doors. and we will ride this out together, and we will get through this storm system here together. We'll do so safely, and you can see right now that squall line slowly making its way from Greensboro, exiting Charlotte, coming into the Columbia area. I'm James Ryerton in Charlotte. Thanks for joining me for this special hour. We will be back throughout the day as best we can, and we will continue to stream our Carolina Weather Net with radar, skycams, and more continuously over on YouTube. So please do check that out if you haven't already, so that you can get updates even if one of us is away from the computer. Because so like so many of you, our kids also don't have school today. So here is where you can watch our Carolina Weather Net, and we'll see you for more coverage throughout the day.